Hey girlies, hey gays, hey theys, and welcome back to Live, Laugh, Love Lesbian. I also get to introduce myself, so I'm going to introduce myself today. I am your host, Juliet Taylor. I am from Newcastle upon Tyne, even though I don't really sound like it. There's a whole episode on me introducing myself if you want to get to know more about me, but the most important thing is that I'm the host of this podcast. I'm really proud to be the host of this podcast. I absolutely love this little community that we're starting to build. This is episode 10. So the 10th episode we're up to. I do have a confession to make. I lied to you all, but I didn't mean to lie to you all last week. So I definitely have that thing that's like number dyslexia, right? I can't read numbers well. I can't remember orders of numbers. So basically, we recently hit 1,000 downloads, which is still insane. And then we hit 1,000 and no, I need to get this right. I told you all we hit 1,500, which was a complete lie. I meant to say we'd hit I think it was literally like 1,005, but I read the 5 in the wrong place. And I just thought I can't live with the guilt of telling you all that I have more downloads than I do, because like I said, I want to keep this like so open and honest and real and raw with you all. So the current number, I've literally just opened my podcast app and refreshed, is 1,148 downloads. So I think last week I'd either hit like 1,005 or 1,115, or there was a 5 somewhere, and I told you all I had 1,500. And that was a lie. So I apologise for lying. But we're nearly at 1,150. So we're on the way to 1,500. But I'm just so grateful that there is 1,148 of you all who have pressed download on this podcast. I can't believe it. I'm trying to think. Oh, I just hit a glass. Trying to think if there's anything I have to update you all on. Me and Taylor have been like starting some new like fun like dates. We wanted to try and like go out together more often and like actually spend some time together. So last weekend we went to the zoo. We went to Northumberland College Zoo and we had such a fun time. It's quite like a small zoo, so there wasn't loads of animals and we didn't spend loads of time there at all because there wasn't like loads of space and loads to do. But we saw meerkats, we saw lemurs, we saw loads of like different birds. This parrot called Bob who was so noisy. And some alpacas, some donkeys, some goats, like, you know, your typical zoo animals. And this weekend, I'm so excited. I booked us this like class. There's this really cool, like quirky shop not too far from where we live. And they host like different like workshops and events. And I'd seen that it came up on my TikTok. So basically it's a paint your pet on a phone case class, I guess. So this artist lady walks you through every step of doing it. So I've had a little look. I had a look on the Instagram before I actually paid. It's £25 per person, but she did us a deal for £45. So I thought I need to check if I'm actually going to be able to do this before I pay £45 for a piece of trash, because I'm so bad at drawing. So basically, you don't freehand the animal. You like trace over a picture and then like you technically like colour it in, but you do it with paint. And I'm going to make it extra hard for myself because I am going to paint both of my dogs. We've got 5 cats, so I thought I can't choose one cat, but I thought I'll do the 2 dogs. And Taylor's going to do Olive, who's her cat. So we have 5 cats, but Olive is Taylor's cat. The other 4 are like my family cats. So Taylor's going to do Olive and I'm going to do baby Brian and Angus. And I'm really excited, even though I'm not sure how they're going to look. But I will keep you updated, so tune in next week to hear how my drawing, my paint, is it a painting? My drawing? My painting, I guess, to see how my painting turned out. But anyway, let's get straight on into this week's episode. So we're going to get straight on into this week's question of the week. Now, the question of the week this week, it just kind of literally came to me. And I still don't actually know if my question makes sense. I might actually have to watch the TikTok that I made with you all, because I genuinely can't even remember like the specific question I got to. But basically, it's aimed at the football girlies, the football gays, the football days. anyone who knows me knows I am a diehard football fan. Didn't used to be. I'd say it's probably like 2 years now being a fan. Used to like not care at all to the sport, and now genuinely I love it more than anything else in the world. I'm so excited for the WSL to return, like you don't even understand. So I think I will watch this video and tell you what the exact question was, but it was something like, do you watch just women's football, or do you watch men's and women's football? And do you watch women's football because a lot of the players are gay and there's this like big like gay community in women's football, or do you actually watch it for the sport? I think it's kind of like a couple of questions in one, because I was just intrigued to know, like, there is so many TikToks that I see getting made, and it's literally people who are only going to watch Arsenal play because they think like Leah Williamson's attractive. And I'm like, yeah, she's an attractive woman. Katie McCabe, oh my God, I love her. But I'm not going because I think Katie McCabe's fit. I'm going because I want to support the game and I want to watch. But I was just intrigued to hear like your guys' thoughts. So let's just watch the TikTok and see what I said. Okay.
I just thought whilst I'm here sat filming TikToks, we could do this week's question of the week. So basically, I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to comment your answer down below. And then if you're lucky, I might read out your answer on next week's episode of Laugh Love Lesbian. So this week's question is, it's a bit of just like it's not really like a specific one just for the gays, so anyone can answer. But it is, what football team do you support? And do you support the men and women's teams equally, or are you more go the women? What was that? Go the women? Or are you like an equal supporter? Because I think I much prefer watching women's football. I don't know if that's just because I'm gay or because I'm a woman and I'm like women supporting women, but also women loving women. So I don't know. It's like that's like that can be part of the question. Like, what football team do you support, and do you support the women's team because you're gay? Like, do you support Arsenal because of Leah Williamson and Kate McCabe? Do you know what I mean? Or do you actually like enjoy watching the sport? Because for me, I actually really enjoy watching the sport. And you know, Leah Williamson and Kate McCabe aren't too hard on the eye to look at. But that is a question. Does that make sense? What football team do you support? Do you support the men and women's teams equally? And do you support them because you like to watch the football or because you're gay? Thanks. Bye.
Okay, there we go. That was chaotic, wasn't it? My goodness. So, my answer to this question, what football team do you support? And this always causes like controversy when people ask me. So obviously I am a Geordie, so I support Newcastle United. I don't really watch men's football. And this is because I got into football when it was the Women's Euros in the summer of 2022. So the only football to watch was the Women's Euros. And I just thought, this is the best thing I've ever watched in my whole entire life. It was so good. I couldn't believe I'd never watched it before. So I got into it from there, and I was trying to like decide which team I was going to support. I didn't know Newcastle United Women had a team at this point. So I sort of was like looking at who are my favourite players that are playing. And I originally thought, okay, I'm going to support Man United. Obviously you had like Mary Earps at the time, Alessia Russo at the time, Ella Toon. You had like a fair amount of the Lionesses playing for Man United. So I'm going to support Man United. I thought it's not too far from Newcastle. I've never been to see a Man United game. I have actually watched them play, but I've never like travelled to Manchester. I've just seen them like play other teams. And we watched them in the FA Cup final, but I just bought tickets for that before I even knew who was in the final because it was Taylor's birthday weekend. So I thought it's a nice birthday treat. And I knew like it'd probably be like United, Chelsea, Arsenal or City. So it would be one of like the good teams that we wouldn't mind seeing. So yeah, I supported Man United for, I don't know, maybe like a few weeks. And then I didn't move. I still lived in Newcastle, but Taylor had been living with me over summer. And then she went back down to uni for like her final year. And we realised she lived really close to Arsenal, like to the Emirates and also to Meadow Park, which is their, the pitch that they play at. So we were like, let's go see Arsenal play. And I was like, heck yeah, like this is where the good times are at. So we were literally like a 20, if that, minute train to Finsbury Park, which is then like a 5-minute walk to the Emirates. And we were like a 20-minute drive to Meadow Park. And I think you could get the train. I think it's like Elstree and Boreham Wood. So yeah, that's sort of how I started supporting Arsenal. We just literally realised that we were really close to them, and obviously they are a very good team. They've got some very like high profile players, but it actually wasn't really like Leah Williamson and Katie McCabe that got me into supporting them. It was more like literally they were like the closest team to us, which is normally how you decide which football team you support. It's the team of, you know, sort of where you live. But anyway, Newcastle United women do have a football team, and a really good one at that. So when I first went to watch them, I hope I say all these things right, they were in like the Northern 1 division. So they were playing teams from like the very north of England, like a small circle of teams. And then they have like the Southern division. Basically, if you win your like section of the Northern division, you go to the Northern Premier division, which means you play all the teams in like all of the north. So not just like the north teams, you play all of the northern teams. The same with the southern teams. Now what used to happen is if you won the Northern Premier Division and the Southern Premier Division, you would have to play off against each other to decide who would go up into the Women's Championships, which is why it used to only be one team that would be like promoted and relegated. However, they changed it so that both the winner of the Northern and the Southern leagues would go into the Championship, which is why we've had 2 go up this year. So I think it was Newcastle, and was it #United? I'm going to have to check. I lied. It was Portsmouth who won. #came second in the league. So yeah, Portsmouth and Newcastle technically should have like play. I think they actually did play each other, but it wasn't to see who got promoted. I'm sure they both got promoted. But yeah, I'm sure they played each other to like win the cup. And you know what? I really should have done my research better before I looked at this. But Newcastle are definitely in the Women's Championship now. So anyway, they went from so it's the Division 1 North that they were in. Then they moved up to the Northern Premier Division, and now they won that. So now they're in the Women's Championship. So they're like an unreal team. So if they win the championship, they're in the WSL, which is insane. They've signed some like really good players. So as soon as I like found out about them, I was like, I'm going to go and watch them. So I kind of say I support Newcastle and Arsenal. I've never been to watch a men's game, only watch the women's games. And in my 2 years, I feel like I've been to quite a few. So Newcastle play loads. I've seen Arsenal play. I've been to Wembley quite a few times to watch the Lionesses play. And the FA Cup final we've seen as well. We saw like the Finalissima, we saw like England versus USA at Wembley, like insane matches, and I just absolutely love it. So let's read your questions because I just rambled for your questions, your answers, because I just rambled for ages. So somebody says, I got into women's football because of the Lionesses and their specific players, but it opened a door and now I love the game for the game as well as loving the players. But I think that happened because there's nowhere else where women are so openly queer in such huge numbers. So it's hard not to connect to that, if that makes sense. And then there's another comment from the same person. I'm trying to see if I've read this in the wrong order. It just says, Manchester City's women's. I don't watch any men's teams. I just can't get into it, but I love the environment of women's football. Oh, I think I have read it in the wrong order. So it was meant to say Manchester women's. I don't watch any men's teams. I just can't get into it, but I love the environment of women's football and I love how open and friendly it is, but also being a competitive sport. And then just saying I got into it because of the Lionesses, and there's not really a place where women are so openly queer in such huge numbers, so it's hard not to connect to that. I totally agree. I feel like it's hard not to like find a connection to that and like, you know, get excited by it when there's like players start dating and stuff, because like, you know, it's that representation that we have lacked so much. So it is really nice to see that and have sort of like a safe space. So someone else says they support Arsenal women's and Wolves men. And they say, I know supporting different teams is controversial, but hear me out. I fell in love with the players at Arsenal when I was first getting into women's football, but Wolves women are in the third league, so I really want to support a team in the WSL, but I defo watch the women's teams a lot more than the men's. Fair enough. Somebody says, I only watch the women play. I support Arsenal because I love Leah, but also the sport. Fair enough. Next one says, I only watch women's football. I've tried with the men's and I don't like it. It's not the same, even though it's the same sport. I totally get that though. Watching the men's, it's just not the same as watching the women's. We've got, I support the men's and women's teams of Manchester United. So I'm assuming that's like an equal support. And then final one says, Arsenal. women's football is amazing, but also want to support the England girlies. Men's team is good if they do well, but I rarely sit down and watch a game of them. Some interesting answers. I feel like they're all very, very similar. It's like most of us are supporting the game for the game, but we're mainly supporting the women's team. And I do feel like that stems from the Lionesses doing so well. Like, it's funny, like when, say last season when Chelsea played Man United, we've got Hannah Hampton in goal, we've got Mary Earps in goal. And I'm thinking, well, I want them both to be stopping all the goals from going in because I want all of England's keepers to be the best. And then I'm thinking, but then I want Alessia Russo to be able to score loads of amazing goals for Arsenal. But then I'm thinking, but then I don't want Lauren James to be absolutely awful at scoring goals because we need her for England. So it's so funny to watch and be like, you know, you want like, oh, I said Man United, didn't I? And then I started talking about Alessia Russo. It's because, well, Leslie used to play at Man United, didn't she? And I'm just thinking in terms of like when you're watching like your England girls play, you always want them to be on like their best form, not like not scoring and not saving all the goals, because you're like, but I need you to do that in like the Euros and in the World Cup and in the Olympics if we qualify, which I'm still not over. But yeah, that was an interesting little question of the week. So let's get straight into some of your guys' questions, dilemmas, and things that you have sent in over the week. Okay, so this isn't looking like a dilemma, more just like a little story. It's quite a short one. It just says, when I was in high school, I had a massive crush on my biology teacher, who is a female, by the way, and I would bake her something every week. And then I found out that she is getting married to a work colleague, brackets, who is male, of my mum's. Love your podcast, by the way. Thanks. That's so crazy, isn't it? Imagine if you guys got like invited to the wedding. You probably wouldn't if it's just like a work colleague. But that's crazy. I also love that you used to bake them something every week. Like, did the teacher just like... I mean, I would love it if someone just came and like baked me something new every week. I guess I wouldn't really think anything of it. I just think, this person must love baking. But that's crazy that like, you know that she's now like getting married to a male. Yeah, cray. Okay, this one is a little bit of a dilemma. It says, I slept over at my straight friend's house the other week, and my girlfriend is still mad that we shared a bed. I'd get it if she was gay, but we've been friends for years, so I don't see the issue. Is she overreacting? Okay, this is a really tricky one, and I feel like, unfortunately, it's something that, like, us gay girlies struggle with a lot more than our straight friends, because the chances of, like, a boy and a girl sharing a bed who aren't dating are so slim, because you don't just, like, go and round and sleep in, like, a straight guy's bed very often. I mean, you might, I don't know. But yeah, me and Taylor have had this issue a couple times in our relationship, like more near the beginning. Obviously being a performer, I used to move away a lot and do different jobs, and sometimes like have to share a bed with people, or like even like sharing a room with people. And it is tricky because, you know, you're like, I don't want someone like seeing you getting changed and stuff like that. But I think the key thing that you said here is that like your friend is not gay. So obviously you are not going to end up like sleeping together or anything like that. Like, you just, maybe you stayed at your friend's house after like a night out and it was that, or like you sleep on the floor at the sofa. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think I don't want to be rude to your girlfriend, but I'm going to say she's overreacting a little bit. I feel like it's not the end of the world. Like, you know, I can see from your girlfriend's side, like, why she's maybe getting annoyed, being like, you've literally shared a bed with another woman. But it's like, yeah, I went to sleep and nothing happened and this friend is straight. So yeah, I do think maybe that is a little bit of an overreaction. But, you know, see it from her point of view. If it was the other way around and you found out that she'd slept in a bed with somebody else, it would annoy you and it would probably upset you. So I think maybe you just need to have a conversation and be like, look, I'll try and avoid this in the future, but there was literally nothing else I could have done. You know, what shall we call the friend? I don't know. Let's go for Taylor. I can't use Taylor, can I? Because then I'll get confused. I'll think of a name. We'll go for Frances because that's my middle name. You know, like Frances is very much straight. Frances might have a boyfriend of like 10 years. Like, there was never going to be anything that was going to happen. But yeah, I'm sorry that you're having like a bit of a spat about this, but I think it shouldn't be a big issue that's going to get blown up too much. I think, you know, just have a chat about it, but you've not done anything wrong. Obviously, I'm assuming absolutely nothing happened because I feel like you would have put it in here if not. But yeah, I think it is maybe a tad bit of an overreaction. Oh, this one's fun. This is just a question. It says, I keep looking for you at the girl event. Please say you're coming to one soon. I have been dying to go to one of these events. If you've not seen them, I think it's like g.irl, but I think they're just called like the girl events. Let me just check I'm telling you the right thing if you want to go and look for them. And they are basically, it's g.irl events, so just girl events. And it's basically like woman and non-binary club events. I'm not really much of a clubber, but like they do like, it's not even just like standing in a club. Like I saw one the other day and like they were just like playing beer pong, and they do like day parties, and it's just like a chance to like meet other like queer women and like make friends and stuff. And I'm sure like if you're out there looking for a partner, like it's a great place to meet someone. But they look so fun, and I would love to go to one. I feel like most of them tend to be down south, which is why I've not really been. But let me tell you, if they come to Newcastle, girl events, if you're listening, come to Newcastle, because I will be there. Okay, next one we have another little question. Oh my god, you guys have been like doing your research on my Instagram. It says, I saw that you went to the Edinburgh Fringe. Did you see any of the TikTok lesbian shows? You know what? I actually didn't, but I have got another trip planned, and I'll tell you who I'm going to see in a minute. So I actually went to Edinburgh Fringe to see one of my best friends of 7 years perform in a musical. It was called, let me make sure I get this right, Here There Be Dragons, and it was a Dungeons and Dragons musical. Now, I know nothing about Dungeons and Dragons, never played it. However, I'm going to support my friend. She's from the US, so I very rarely get to see her. So when she was in Edinburgh, and obviously I'm so close to Edinburgh and Newcastle, I was like, I have to go. So me and my mum went up and we saw the show, and it was actually really good. And I think it's closed now, so I'll still suggest it to you all to go and see if you ever get the chance, because it was actually a really good musical. And there are some queer characters in there. We have a little lesbian storyline, Blossom, which is really cute. But yeah, basically, I hadn't really done any research onto what else was on at the Edinburgh Fringe. I just knew I was going to go and see Emily, and then I was going to come back. However, when I was on the train, we realised that we were going to have a couple of hours to spare whilst we were waiting around. So I was having a look on like the Edinburgh Fringe website, and I saw that Ashley Gavin is doing a stand-up show, and I love Ashley Gavin. I think she's so funny. So I text Taylor being like, we need to come to the Edinburgh Fringe. So we're coming up again on the 25th, which I think is the final day of the Fringe, because that is literally the only time that we had availability like together, because Taylor works Monday to Saturday, so Sunday's her only day off, and the other Sundays I had princess parties booked in. So we're going back to see Ashley Gavin, but I've since seen Courtney, I think it's Courtney Butchner, she's got a show on. There's loads of others that I would have loved to go and see, but I'll have to wait till next year. We did see a show whilst we were waiting around, because Ashley was sold out that day, or I would have took my mum. That would have been funny. We went to see a show called Chunky Monkey, and it was really good. I can't remember what the comedian was called. Oh, she was called Mel. And she was hilarious. She was very much straight, and she said that herself in the like stand-up set, but she was hilarious. And there's also another one I really wanted to see called The Shite Feminist. It's a Irish girl called Rachel, and I've just seen her on TikTok, and she just seems like so cool, and I just really wanted to go and see her and support her show. However, it was sold out the day that I was there with Mum, because the timings were perfect. We had to wait like 3 hours before our train, and her show was like the perfect times that we could finish Emily's show, get to her show, and get to our train. But it was sold out, so I was gutted. But obviously, I'm glad that it was sold out, because it's really great to see so many people supporting like independent artists. But yeah, on the 25th, we're going to see Ashley Gavin, and then we're going on holiday the next day. So we're getting the train up to Edinburgh at like 12 o'clock. Ashley Gavin's show's not till like 6, so we're going to just do some exploring, like watch some street acts, maybe go see another like show or a stand-up set or something. And then I think we get home about, I think it was like 11:30, maybe it was 10:30. It's like late-ish, and then the next day we have to be up at like 7 o'clock to get to the airport. But thankfully, we live a 5-minute drive from Newcastle Airport, so we won't have to be up too early. Yeah, thank you for your question. Okay, we have another dilemma that says, I've moved on and my ex just won't stop texting me. I wanted to try and stay friends, but the constant texting and trying to get back with me is getting ridiculous. What should I do? Okay, I feel like I would... it's hard because I don't know the context. I don't know like why you broke up. You know, maybe like you didn't break up for like a bad reason, so your ex thought like she had a chance to get back in there, whereas you've moved on. I think, you know, you're just gonna have to be brutal and say, look, I'm sorry, you know, I've moved on, I'm over you, that door's now closed, so please stop texting me all the time. I mean, and the thing is, like you said, like you wanted to try and stay friends, which that's like such a lesbian thing to do, isn't it? Being like friends with your ex. Yeah, you know, maybe you could still be friends, but just sort of be like, maybe you just have to, even like if you said you've moved on, so you've either got a new girlfriend or like a situationship or a new partner or something, like could you just start like soft launching them on the socials, like a little like, well, hard launch if that's the route you want to go down, just so your ex sees like, oh, she has moved on, because your ex might not know that you've moved on, so that's why she's like still trying to like get back with you, do you know what I mean? So yeah, maybe you just need to start like soft or hard launching the new partner, or even just like the situationship, do you know what I mean? Just like little hints to be like, I am off the market, and then naturally I would assume your ex will stop with the constant text and the trying to get back with yous. Yeah, that is it's a bit annoying because obviously, like you said, like you want to stay friends, but like it's getting ridiculous. So yeah, I'm gonna say a soft or a hard launch, just so they realise like, okay, what's going to be our name? What's our name going to be? Katie. You know, it's like Katie's off the market. However, like you might still be able to be friends because you've said that's what you want. So it would be a shame to, you know, sort of lose a friendship. There's the dog. Okay, is this the last one of the day? This is the last one of the day. Thank you all so much for sending your things in, because it does make the podcast a lot easier to film when I have dilemmas and questions and stories to tell and answer and share with you all. So please make sure to keep sending them in. It can literally be like, we've had like, none of these have been long today. Like feel free to send in the longest dilemma or story in the world, or feel free to send in like the shortest question, because it all helps me create even more podcast content for you all. So final one of the day is another question. And it says, what is your dream country to visit, and would you ever go anywhere that isn't LGBTQ plus safe? That is a good question. I feel like if I could go to a country that isn't LGBTQ plus safe, I'd probably choose, I'm torn. Maybe Dubai. Now, I've always like loved the thought of like Dubai and like Saudi Arabia, because my cousins used to live in Saudi Arabia and they would go to Dubai all the time. So I used to like see Dubai like from their pictures and like all of their like stories about living there. And we see it's really warm out there and there's so many exciting things to do. But I probably will never go there because it is quite expensive, I think. And also I'm just not going to put like myself or Taylor through that. It's an interesting question actually, because doing pageants, when you win a national title that goes to an international pageant, sometimes you don't know where your international pageant is going to be because the destination changes every year. So I was really skeptical going into my last pageant, knowing like, okay, if I win, I don't even know if I'm going to be welcomed where I'm going, if that makes sense. But I'm really lucky we're going to India. I'm so excited, and our international pageant director is actually gay, so it's really nice to sort of know that I am going to be welcomed and accepted over there. My dream country to visit, I don't actually know. I feel like Bali looks absolutely beautiful, like anywhere that has like elephants. Obviously I would only go somewhere where it's like a genuine like animal sanctuary, like these people are actually actively protecting elephants and fighting for their conservation, not like them ones that like pretend to be like good but they're actually horrible to the animals. Anywhere with like, I love elephants, I would love to like see an elephant. Recently when I went on holiday just a few weeks ago to Disney, I've always loved animals, but I just fell in love with the safari. I did it about probably like 5 times whilst I was there. So I would love to go to a country in Africa. I think it's like Botswana has some great safaris, or South Africa. Basically anywhere where I can go on like a real life safari and see some animals like out in the wild in their natural habitats. Even though I have heard like stories that like you will see, you know, like little baby zebras getting like killed for like prey and food and stuff, and that would break my heart. But I just feel like that would be incredible. I don't know where else I would like to go. I would love to go to New York. I know that's not a country, but I'd love to go to New York. You know, I don't think I've ever sat down and thought like, which countries would I like to go and visit? I feel like there's not many that I would say no to. Oh my God, I just thought of one. Australia. I would love to go to Australia. Me and Taylor would love to go to Australia together. It just looks amazing. I have she's basically an auntie, but she's a godmother, but I call her auntie. I have a godmother who lives in New Zealand, so we always have that sort of like invitation to go over there. Because I feel like if you're going to go to Australia, you'll do New Zealand, and if you're going to do New Zealand, you'll do Australia. And I have actually heard people say that they preferred New Zealand to Australia. They said it was a lot more like scenic, a little bit less touristy. But I feel like I would definitely do both. And then if I ever went back in the future, I'd maybe just go to the one that was my favourite. But yeah, no, I've heard great things about New Zealand and Australia, so I'd love to go there. So maybe that is definitely up there. Okay, so I keep forgetting every week to do our little queer icon of the week. So I've just Googled women's football queer icon, because we've had a bit of a chat about women's football today. So it's given me a list that says 10 queer icons in women's football that you should know about. So first up, we have Jill Scott, the icon, the queen of the jungle. So it says Jill's been a vocal advocate for the LGBTQ plus community within sport and a role model for so many queer women in football. Last year, Jill proposed to her girlfriend Shelley Unit and also announced her retirement. Next, we have Yudi Simlane, I hope I'm saying that right. One of football's most courageous activists, a South African footballer. Oh my goodness, this just took a turn. This is a trigger warning. Maybe just skip a couple of seconds if you don't want to hear what I'm about to say. She was violently killed due to activism. Oh my God, that's awful. The horrific nature of her murder brought many dangerous practices. Wow. I'm not going to read all that because it's hard hitting. So if you want to hear more, it's EUDY and then Sime, SIME Lane as one for the surname. But yeah, go and have a little look at that if you want to. But I know some people won't want to hear about all of that, so I'll leave that one there. But wow, I'll read the last little bit because it's just says this UD, I'm hoping I'm saying that right, helped to pioneer many new LGBTQ plus charities and organisations. So, wow, didn't expect that to take such a dark turn. Next up, we have Rachel Daly, another lioness to add to the list. I wonder how old this is because it's not said that she's retired yet. But yeah, unfortunately, Rachel Daly has retired. Next, we have Megan Rapinoe, who has also now retired. In 2018, Megan and her girlfriend Sue became the first same-sex couple on the cover of ESPN's The Body issue. 2 years later, they announced their engagement. Congrats. Next, we have Lily Parr. Lily is perhaps one of the most influential LGBTQ plus female footballers of all time. Having played rugby and football all her life, Lily was one of the best female footballers at the time, scoring more than 900 goals in her career, which spanned from 1919 to 1951. She was one of the first openly lesbian football players at the time, unwilling to hide her relationship with her partner Mary. She was the first woman inducted into the English Football Hall of Fame at the National Football Museum in 2002 and has become an icon within the LGBTQ plus community. Let's go, Lily Parr. Go on, girl. Next up, we have Pernille Harder. The Danish footballer is considered one of the best footballers in the world. Pernille is also known for her LGBTQ plus activism off the pitch with her partner Magda Eriksson. And then, it talks about the picture. I was going to tell you all about the picture, but it's mentioned it. It says, the picture of Pernille and Magda kissing at the 2019 World Cup was a watershed moment for queer football players and touched the lives of so many aspiring sportswomen. For anyone who doesn't know, it was basically a picture of them kissing after one of the matches, and yeah, it just blew up everywhere. Next, there's not too many more, so we may as well give them all a read. Next is Quinn. The Canadian footballer made history as the first ever non-binary athlete to compete at the Olympics in 2020. And they said, I think being visible is huge, and it's something that helped me when I was trying to figure out my identity. I wanted to pass that along, and then hopefully other people will come out as well if they feel safe to do so, and I can help create a safer space for them. That is really cool. Next up, we have the icon, that is Sam Kerr. Obviously, we all know that Sam Kerr is now engaged to Kirsty Mewis, who is a footballer for West Ham and the US Women's National Team, and they are such a cute couple. They're probably one of my favourite WOSO couples. Finally, we have Jess Carter, another lioness to close off the list. It says, the Chelsea player has been openly out since she started dating her girlfriend, Anne-Katrin Berger. Having brought the Euros trophy home last year, this was definitely before the World Cup. We have no doubt that she'll do England proud on the pitch during the World Cup. And she did. She's great. I love Jess Carter. And I love her and Anne's relationship. Obviously, Anne's just moved to the US. Is it Portland Thorns, or have I completely made that up? Wherever Anne's gone to, Jess is now signed to, so they're going to be living together in America, because it breaks my heart seeing all these women's football couples spreading across the pond. So obviously we've got Mackenzie Arnold. I think Mackenzie's moved to Portland Thorns. Can't remember. Anne and Jess, have they gone to Gotham? Am I making this all up? Let's just search Jess Carter on Instagram and see where she's just signed. Jess Carter. They've gone to Gotham. So Jess and Anne have gone to Gotham, and I think it's Mackenzie Arnold who's gone to Portland Thorns. And then Katie Zellam's gone to Angel City. I think I'm getting all that right. So Mackenzie Arnold is leaving. I think her girlfriend is called Ellie. Guys, this is Edit and Jules here. I don't know why I thought her name was Ellie. Her name's Kirsty, so ignore when I say Ellie. Is it called? Is it? Oh my god, that was so rude. Is she called? I think she's called Ellie. She plays with the Scottish national team, so that's going to be long distance, London to Portland, Bethmead and Fifmead. I'm still not over it. Obviously, the distance isn't far. It's only, London to Manchester. Not far, a couple of hours, but still just heartbreaking. There's so many more, but that was a couple of queer women's football icons for our queer icon of the week. Well, guys, I'm going to wrap up that episode there. Thank you all so much again for listening. Please don't forget to download, to subscribe, and to leave a review. I would love that. And if you want to send in your own story, your question, or a dilemma, everything will be linked in the description of the podcast. If you want to get involved with the question of the week, then make sure that you follow my TikTok. That will also be linked in the description, and it's just Juliet Francis T. And you can get involved with the question of the week and have your answer read out on the podcast. Thank you guys so much again for listening, and I will speak to you all again next week for episode 11. Bye!